What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be going over the self-sabotaging self, why imposter syndrome exists, and how to end it once and for all so you can actually create consistent results in your life. Now, if you get benefit of this training, if it helps you grow, if it helps you transform yourself, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's dive in to the whiteboard. All right, diving in here. The self-sabotaging self, how to stop imposter syndrome and create consistent results in your life. Now, first and foremost, have you ever, in your journey, have you ever noticed that you've procrastinated before, how you overthought something or try to overplan it? Maybe you distracted yourself when you knew you had to get something done, or you feel like you're maybe on a never-ending roller coaster with a certain challenge, situation, relationships, a weight loss goal, whatever it may be. If so, you're most definitely not alone, and all of those are signs slash symptoms of self-sabotage. So imagine for a second, though, imagine if you had zero doubt that you would accomplish your goals, that you saw every single challenge as a step forwards rather than a step backwards, where you no longer questioned yourself or the journey or the things that were in front of your face that you maybe didn't prefer in that moment. Imagine if you also no longer waited to get the things that you wanted. No more procrastination, no more distracting, no more putting it off. We just took massive action forwards. If so, where would you be today? How would you be? Where would you be? How would you look? How would you feel? What would your bank account look like? What would your relationships look like if that imposter syndrome, if that self-sabotaging cycle no longer existed? Well, it is all absolutely possible. I'm going to show you how to do it today. And this is what I call coherence. When your beliefs, your state slash your focus, and your actions are all in alignment to the goal that you're trying to accomplish in your life. That is coherence. That is pure alignment with where we want to go. But most of us, what we often feel like is we're typically where, we want to change, right? We want to accomplish more money. We want to get that unconditional love and that perfect relationship that we dream of in the movies, or we want to get our body and our health to a nice place where we feel really confident, comfortable. But maybe we don't really believe it anymore because we've had so many past experiences that now alter our current beliefs around the thing that we even want in the first place. And then when it comes to our state and our focus, maybe your focus is a little up and down, right? One day is super, super good. You get a lot done towards your goals. And the next day, it's like a bunch of chaos happens in your life and it totally takes you away, totally distracts you from the main goal. And then lastly is your actions. Actions as in like, okay, I'm consistent for a week and then I'm not consistent and then I'll try again and I'll kind of dip my toes in the water, but I'm not fully going in. So it's up and down. It's not really, really in alignment. It's not a pure consistency. Well, you're not alone if that's you. This is the cycle of self-sabotage. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you can connect with, this is something you relate with. So it starts as so, right here. When we start out, we get a new diet, we get a new plan, we sign up for a program, a course, we get a new date, we get a new girlfriend, boyfriend, you get motivated. Usually the start, guys, is you heard this quote many times online if you're into personal development and growth, is that when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change, that's when we truly change ourselves. Think of it like a pendulum. Okay, it's being swung back. You're going through all this pain. You're hitting rock bottom. You went through emotional trauma and something terrible happened in your life. And now that's going to swing you back because now you were so motivated. You're so fired up to change. You were sick and tired of being in the same place over and over and over again. So this is what I call the pendulum effect. And this is where that enough pain, that enough fire creates motivation to move forwards. This is that section here. So we have liftoff. Then from that motivation, we always have quick results, right? We have quick results. There's not much friction. We feel like, oh, well, I've been going to the gym for 7 days in a row now and doing cardio. I feel amazing. This is easy. I got this. I'm going to do it this time. This is going to be the time I lose weight. Or it's like, okay, I'm starting to make a lot more money. I'm doing really good in my career. I'm really dialed in. Deals are coming in super easily. I got this. This is it. Like things are really working out for me, right? And then this is what I call the elastic band gets stretched too far. And this is where we are no longer in alignment with our core identity. Okay. And what I mean by that is that your actions are going great, but what's not changed yet is your identity. So now you're acting out of alignment with who you actually believe yourself to be. And this is where the elastic band gets stretched too far, which means, okay, here's comfort zone. I'm getting stretched way too far. And the brain hates that. The brain hates that because your brain loves you so much that it wants to protect you and keep you safe, which means it doesn't want you to change. So as soon as you get a little bit too far out of that comfort zone, back home. It's time to come back down. Okay, the fun ride is over. Get back on the roller coaster. And this is where we go back to the comfort zone. We go back to our old self. And oftentimes in these moments, we'll make up excuses to try to make it feel better. But inside, we usually feel pretty guilty. We usually deal with the shame. We usually deal with just the, again, like what, there must be something wrong with me. There must be something broken in my body, or I'm just not lucky, or I don't have the time, or I just can't do it. Now is not the time in my life, right? We try to make it make sense, but in reality, it's like, I don't want to go back to the exact place I'm trying to get away from. And we notice in this time we lose focus, we put ourselves in the back burner, maybe we lose confidence or we get a little bit too comfortable with those previous wins that we just accomplished. And then right back to the start. We'll hold it off for 3 months, 6 months, where it may be, and then we'll go try again when the pain becomes great enough. And the cycle continues and continues and continues. And if you look at statistics, about 90% of people usually stay stuck in these kind of cycles. 90% plus people. That's New Year's resolutions. That is when it comes to weight loss goals. That is a new business success. Relationships, I'm not entirely sure, but it's very, very common that your cycles will be repeated over and over and over again until we actually find out how to change them. And that's what we're going to dive into here today. Because here's the thing, the cycle of change is not too far off from the cycle of self sabotage. The cycle of change just has this extra section from right here all the here. And that's what we're going to dive into here today. That's what we're going to learn about. So, first of all, though, we should know, why do we self sabotage in the first place? Why do we self sabotage in the first place? Like, why does it happen? Why is it that I want to go this way? I want to change my life. I want to transform myself. But yet there's something inside of me that is not okay with that. And it's like unconscious actions I will do. It will be like I won't even catch myself in the moment, but I'll do these things that just completely sabotage my success, or I'll change my mind out of nowheres. It's like I have these random thoughts and I just start to think about them and I start to feel that way and it just affects everything in my journey. It's almost like I can't even stop it from happening. That's self sabotage right there. So here's why. You self sabotage not because your body, your brain hates you. Okay, let's get that very, very clear. It is not because your body or your brain hates you. It's actually the exact opposite. Your animal brain, okay, your animal brain is doing its job. It loves you so much. And that's why it's so good at what it does. Because here's the thing is that your animal brain, it doesn't care if you want change. It doesn't care if you need to get healthy and lose weight. It doesn't care if you want a healthy relationship or more money in your bank account. It doesn't care. All it cares about is consistency with the same program that's been playing out. And that is why, and the reason why is because it wants survival and safety, which means no change. Okay, your animal brain just wants things to be predictable. It wants to control the future. And the only way it can do that is by looking back into the past and making sure that those past patterns are repeated over and over and over and over again. So here's how it works at a deep, deep level. So up until about the age of 7 or 8 or so, our minds are wide open. Okay, our mirroring neurons are really doing their job. This is when you're a complete sponge to the world and you're sucking in all the information and you're learning how to function in this world, where your place is at, how to survive in this world. And a lot of these influences at this young age come from family habits passed down, labels that were put upon you, society and culture, emotional traumas and experiences that you've gone through. And before, this age of 8 or 7, you're fully present. You're fully just acting on your passions. You're doing what you love. You literally go to a funeral and you're having the best day in the world. You're just playing around because you don't understand. You're fully in the moment, right? We don't have any necessarily core beliefs or anything like that yet. We're just experiencing everything here and now. And then eventually the sponge, this open mind starts to close. And this is what we call the sense of self is created. And the sense of self is your identity starts to form, your true sense of self of like, okay, this is who I believe I am. This is who I believe, how I am in the world, how the world works. I'm starting to get a good grip on things. And then also the ego starts to get formed as well. Okay. So all these events, so just think back in your past and remember as a young little child, you're just learning the world. You don't really know how things are or you know, why things happen the way they do. But here's the scary part is that all the things that happen to you from the age up to 7 or 8 or so, now that you have this sense of self, now your mind is trying to create stories to make sense of those experiences. So for example, let's say growing up, your family always treated your siblings way better than you, and you're always not treated as good. And then growing up, let's say you then start to have this idea of, okay, well, that must mean that I'm not worthy. If they get put in front of me and I don't get treated the same, it's probably because there's something wrong with me. Like I'm just not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. So then the mind creates stories about the situations, the events that happen, and it assigns that meaning and it creates beliefs around that. And that then grips onto you and sticks with you throughout time until it is changed. Now, also, the ego is formed, which then protects that identity, the identity of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I am fat, I am poor and broke, I am a bad person, there's something wrong with me. That is a part of your identity, who you believe you are. And your ego protects that identity. This is why I always ask people, why do I want you to win more than you want you to win? Why do I have to argue with you about your potential and power and you have to argue against it? The reason why is because it's not like you want to shame on yourself. It's not like you want to talk bad on yourself. It's not like you want to talk down on yourself and be disempowered. It might feel right to the ego and the identity, but you don't truly want that. You don't truly want that at all. So the reason why is because the ego is speaking up. The ego is reacting and it's saying, who do you think you are trying to come in here and change this girl's identity, this guy's identity? Caden, you can't do that. So the ego speaks through us. It puts thoughts into our mind, and then we grip onto those thoughts as if it is who we actually are. But you got to remember that you are the observer of your life and not the reactor. You're not your thoughts. You're the one observing the thoughts. But a lot of us, we grip onto the thoughts, we identify with them, then we feel the emotional pain from them, and then it becomes our actual personal experience. So ego is formed, okay? Identity solidifies who you believe you are, and the mind creates stories to make sense of your past and what has happened. So if you got in trouble a lot growing up, if you got abused or something like that, something terrible, your mind will make sense of it in a way usually around personalizing around yourself. Well, they did that to me because there's something wrong with me, or I deserved it because I'm not good enough, or I can only get love if I do things. This is a big, very common one. People are growing up with conditional love and not unconditional love, which means if you go do these things, if you get good grades, if you're good at sports, if you listen, if you don't speak up, I will give you love. I will give you praise. I will give you attention. But if you act out of line, you're abandoned. You're not getting anything. And then that becomes people pleasers. There's a lot of people pleasers in this world, right? Or you tie your self worth to task. You're not getting praise until you go do these things. You know what that creates inside a young child's mind is I am not good enough. My worth comes from outside of me. If I go accomplish these things, then I am a worthy person. But the problem is that when you come from lack, you keep finding lack more and more and more and more and more because it's the belief that's playing out. And most of us, even the richest people in the world, multimillionaires I've spoken to, they come from that place and they go out and they keep finding, guess what, more and more lack. I built my first business and it was successful. I built my first business off that lack. From age 19 probably up to age 23, 24, I would grind my butt off. I disconnected from basically everything, went very stoic, and I built a very successful business at such a young age. A pretty successful business, we'll say, especially for around where I live. And it came from pure lack. It came from I'm never enough. So I would hit these record months that, would be unbelievable. My younger self would have his mind blown. And for me in those moments, I would celebrate for 5, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, maybe, even. And then after that little high, it would just go back to the same thing, which is it's not enough. I need more. I need more. This is not good enough. I need to keep going. I need to keep growing. And the more and more I grew, guess what? More and more I found the same thing. It was never enough until I changed it up, which I'm going to share with you here soon. So that's how it works. So up until the age of 7, you create that sense of self, right? And this is how it works. This is why a lot of you feel like you're stuck in a cycle and a loop because you have your identity, who you believe you are. Your identity shapes your actions, okay, which kind of create the same future as your past. And the ego is taking all your past experiences, labels, society, strong emotional events, and it's looking for that in the future so it can be what it does best, a prediction machine. And this is why you're stuck in a cycle, right? If somebody's trying to lose weight, but they believe, like, I've always been big boned, or I'm scared to lose weight because my family might judge me and they won't accept me anymore, right? Maybe you're always forced to finish your plate growing up or something like that, or you're always called big boned, and that's how you got the attention from, your parents, whatever it may be. Then you're going to keep finding that in the future. So if you notice that you're changing and you're not getting called that anymore, or if you're not finding that in your external world, it actually becomes uncomfortable because it's the unknown. So the ego is like, in the sense of self, is like, no, this is unknown. I don't know what it's like in this uncharted territory, right? I need to go back and find my past in my present, in my future. And then that's how self-sabotage starts, imposter syndrome starts, which we'll explain here soon. So that's why it feels like a cycle. Now, adult you wants change though. Adult you wants change. You hear the driven seeker wants change, but your ego and identity and protective self doesn't want it, doesn't care about that, right? I want to be happy. The inside part of me wants to be happy, but the other part of me has been let down so many times in my life that I'm like, F happiness, screw happiness. That is not even possible for me, right? That's the ego speaking because that's the identity in charge now. The identity is like, okay, happiness isn't just isn't for me. It's just not for me. There's something wrong with me. There's something broken with me. And then the ego will speak up to make sure that that comes true over and over and over again. So again, it's like, I want to go this way, but my other self wants to go this way. And that is what we call resistance. That is what we call resistance. So here's how it plays out now as an adult. Okay, your true identity shapes your overall long-term behaviors, which is your actions, and they produce the results in your life. You are a creation of your past actions, and your future will be a result of your current actions today, here and now. So if you want to change your future, you got to change your identity first. And if not, your past will replay over and over and over again every single year until you die. You will live the same year in a different way over and over and over again until your human body dies. So let's dive deep. Okay. So we talked about identity. Now let's talk about why and how identity is formed so that we know how we can actually start to genuinely change it so we can stop this self-sabotaging pattern. So beliefs. Beliefs are basically just thoughts held over and over and over again where we find evidence for it eventually and then we start to believe it to be true. Beliefs are not solid. Beliefs can change. They're not solidified and they're not always facts. But beliefs, if you know how the brain works, you know how neuroscience works, beliefs kind of send the thoughts that you have. Okay, beliefs kind of send and shape the thoughts that you end up getting and having, and the beliefs also create the emotions that you have. They influence the emotions you have. Okay, did you know a thought held for 7 seconds creates an emotional reaction? So thoughts and emotions over time, neurons that fire together will wire together. Your brain doesn't know if it's actually in reality or if it's an imagination. So if you're constantly thinking, I'm a terrible person, and you feel terrible, you feel guilt and shame, eventually that's going to become part of your identity. Okay, how you think and feel becomes how you actually are. So your identity gets formed through consistent thoughts and emotions held over time. Then identity over time, right? Over time, as we give it time, your actions will change from this identity. Think of a religious person, someone who believes in God. They go to church, they read the Bible, they do these things because they genuinely want to. Why? It's part of their identity, it's part of who they are and what they do. It comes natural. This is why people who's been working out for years and years and years, they love the gym. They love going. It's a part of them. It's who they are. It's what they do. It is a part of their core identity, right? Before I started working out, I've been working out now for basically 10 years. Before I started working out, I hate the gym. I thought it was pointless. I said, who in the right mind would want to go lift these dumbbells in the gym and sweat? Like, I don't understand. I'd rather sit here and play video games and eat s'mores, 12 s'mores and a bagel and chocolate milk after school, right? I didn't understand. But guess what? I was also extremely insecure in my body. Extremely insecure in my body. Hate the way I felt. Hate the way I looked. My mindset about myself was poor, very poor. And then when I finally changed my identity, when I just finally changed the beliefs about myself, when I finally stuck with working out and I grinded it out, my identity changed as well. And then my actions became natural, like flow. And as we know, actions create results in our lives, right? You need to take action to get new results. So 90% of people, what happens in this section, why we self-sabotage so much, is because 90% of people do what? The New Year's resolutioner, the one who decides they're going to make a change in their weight, the one who decides they're going to start a business, the one who decides they're going to do whatever it may be, they go and change their actions first. I'm going to start this new diet plan. I'm going to sign up for this program, this mentorship. I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do all these things, which is great because you need actions. But what do we neglect? We neglect changing the identity. We neglect changing the beliefs that we have. We don't pay any attention to it. So we go out and take these limited actions because your actions are formed through your identity, which is your thoughts and emotions, which comes from your beliefs. So if you have limited beliefs, you have limited actions. Okay. For example, someone who believes money is hard to make, they're only going to go out into the world and find harder opportunities, hard things to do to make money because they can't think outside of themselves to see other opportunities because the brain will filter that out because it does not serve the core belief system. Your brain will lie to you. It will literally lie to you. So that's what I mean by limited actions. Okay. So the goal is how do we expand ourselves at the highest level possible? That's what I love to do with people. That's what I help people do. By the way, if you're liking this, make sure you leave some support, like, and subscribe for some more. So here's an example. Let's say someone's like, I'm not good enough. Okay. And that is the belief. I am not good enough. This becomes your identity. And so the ego will then speak through you from that lens. Okay. Convincing you that it's the full you. It will make you forget that you're the author of your life and not just a story that's playing out. All right. And then it's really good at doing it, by the way. Most of us don't even realize it. Then the thoughts and emotions, okay, are created from this. So imagine the thoughts and emotions that you're going to have if you don't believe you're good enough. Well, what's the point of even trying? You know, one treat won't matter. I'm too scared to try the gym. I don't want to bother my family. I can never lose weight. I can't ask that girl out. Why? I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough for them. The ego, because it's not who you want to be, right? It's not who you want to be at all. It's the ego speaking to convince you to stay the same. Okay? And it sounds so convincing and it feels real because it's personally real, but it's not permanent. Okay? It's what we call a half truth, which means, yeah, it's true to your own personal reality, but it's not the full truth. You believe you're not good enough. You believe you're broken. I don't see you as broken at all. I don't believe that. I don't buy into that. But the ego will be like, you don't understand. You don't get it. There is something wrong with me. And it's like inside your soul is like, I don't want to be this way. Like, I really don't want to be this way. I wish there was nothing wrong with me. But the ego is so convincing because it's just doing its job because it loves you so much. You know, that's how beautiful the world is, the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, is that it will support you in all unconditional ways, whatever it is that you want. If you believe you're disempowered, guess what? You'll go find that in your personal reality and be disempowered. If you believe that you are good enough, you will go find that in your personal reality and you will realize how good enough you actually are. The belief system, consciousness, source will support you in every single angle because it loves you unconditionally. So, thoughts, emotions are formed, and then identity is formed, right? This is who I believe I am. And then what are your actions going to be over time? You'll give up easily, right? You're going to put yourself in the back burner, struggle with consistency, low confidence and trust within yourself. You'll easily doubt yourself. Why? Because you're not good enough. And then lastly, the results stuck in the same cycle to reconfirm that same old belief system of I am just not good enough. So this will continue over and over again because it's how sneaky your beliefs, your ego, your identity is just to make sure it survives. Because the ego hates an identity death. It does not want that. So we'll continue over and over again until we actually make changes the right way. So here's another example. Okay. This is you formed from your beliefs, right? Your ego, your identity. And now you're going to go out into the external world and you're looking for evidence to reconfirm that belief system over and over again. And it will go as far to where your beliefs shape what you focus on in your life. Your beliefs shape your overall perspective on things in life. Your beliefs shape how you define the situations that happen in your life. Your beliefs will literally shape the meaning of the situations happening in your life. Nothing has inherent meaning. You give it meaning. So when you, let's say for example, you believe that you're ugly and or you're gross or you're not beautiful or whatever it may be, you believe something disempowering about yourself. And then somebody says, "Hey, you're ugly." You will give that meaning of, "Oh, see, they see how actually ugly I am." But it's not actually true, is it? No, that person said something. Why let that bother you? We let it bother us because we deeply believe it about ourselves. So we give it the meaning of like, oh, it must be true. Like I'm super ugly because they said that. And that's confirmation for the belief system. But if you believe like you were beautiful just exactly the way you are, you're perfect exactly the way you are in every single moment, every single change that you make, and you believe that to be true, when someone says, "Hey, you're ugly," you're going to laugh at them. You're going to say, "Oh, geez, like I wonder what that person's going through. I wonder what they think. Like to just be like that. I feel for them in a way. It's not going to hurt you. Why would it hurt you when you already know who you are?" So see, you look for confirmation. So you give it different meaning based on the different beliefs that you have. And then that reconfirms the system. Okay. We often think that the world is happening to us, but in a way, it happens through us, as in what you believe you were finding in your external world, and it confirms this loop over and over and over again. Okay. You are participating in the version of reality that you decide to focus on, that you decide to interact with the most. That's a little quantum physics line. So, how to create real change in your life. Okay. How do we get to this part here and here? Well, we got the start, right? Actions, the mismatch in identity, not in the comfort zone. Here's what we do. Number one, no more collapsing backwards, crossing the line in the sand. You're not going back to a place that you no longer want to be in. You're trying to outgrow it for a reason. There's no going back. Like literally no going back. Instead, what you want to do is here's what you got to do. Number one is you need awareness. And awareness means is that we need to calm the ego, calm the mind, stop identifying with the thoughts. Stop being in reactive mode, fight or flight. Calm the nervous system, calm the mind. And this way we can now open it up and we can be the observer of our lives. We can start rewriting the story rather than playing in the story. Right? Playing in the story is like, I'm not good enough. You don't understand. Look, I failed at this. I tried this in the past. This is not working. This is not working. You're reacting. You're in the ego. It's serving that identity of I'm not good enough. You'll never change that way. But when you can quiet the mind, you can get into stillness, you can get in pure presence. You realize, okay, wait, those thoughts, like I see them, but I'm not attaching myself to them. So if I am not those thoughts and I'm observing this, and I don't even want to be those thoughts in that way, well then who am I? What am I? So now you're observing the situation. And as soon as you observe, now you can reflect, you can find the patterns. So number one is awareness. Awareness of what is, and start to remember a little bit of your power by being that observer. Next, safety. Because if your nervous system, if your body is not in a safe state, you're always going to be in fight or flight. You can't take in new change. There's no healing. There's no growth happening. So you got to get your state of being in an overall good feeling. And this is what I recommend. Shut out the outside world. Stop looking at the outside world to tell you who you are. This is what they call be delusional. Go in, get yourself into a calm, relaxed state, and just focus on here and now. Because here's the thing, your ego, your survival self is always going to try to think and prepare for the future. It's trying to always think about the past and the mistakes, everything. It's not wanting to live in the now because in the now, the ego cannot exist. So when you get into the now, the present moment, right here and right now, all that crap goes away. And then you can make a new decision on how you genuinely want to think and feel. Go inner and focus on how you genuinely want to think and feel. Get yourself into alignment with where you want to go. So now what's happening is that you're aware, you're stepping outside the story, you're choosing a new story, you're focusing and feeling on that way. And then as you take action on that, you'll notice what we call resistance will pop up. And resistance is where you might have a limiting belief or you might have a fear around acting that way or being that way because again, it doesn't want to change. It's not aligned with the core belief system. So you're taking aligned action as the person you want to be. And when you do that, then the old belief systems will start to rise to the surface. And the key here, this is why it's so important to keep yourself in a safe, calm state, is to not react back to those old beliefs. So you're changing the belief of from I'm ugly and I'm unworthy to I'm beautiful and I am perfect exactly who I am as I am. As you're changing that belief, the outer world hasn't changed yet. So you might still have reflections of your old identity. So when you get someone, let's say that you're working on it, right? And then someone's like, "You're ugly. You look terrible today." The worst thing that you can do is react to that and then buy back into that old story because that is the old limiting beliefs trying to find confirmation to come back alive. The ego is trying to speak through. So your job is to ignore it, shut it out, get back into the state of how you think and how you want to feel, and then take action from there again. And then as those limiting beliefs arise of like, well, what if they're right? You can catch it. And then you can say, what would I have to believe to be true about myself to think that way? Well, I'd have to believe that I'm not worthy. I'd have to believe that I'm not good enough. I have to believe that I'm not beautiful. Okay, well, see, now you're being your own teacher. Is that universally true that I am that way? No, it's not true. Like, was I born that way as a baby? No, it's not true. Okay, well, what must be true then? I am actually good enough. I am beautiful, just the way I am. Okay, I got to convince myself. And then you find yourself some evidence. Okay, well, I am exactly the way I am. And that's just the way it is. And the way it is so freaking beautiful. Look at nature. Nobody could paint nature more beautifully. Why? Because it's perfectly exactly the way it is. Some trees are broken, some trees stand tall. It's beautiful beyond measure. I am a part of that. I am that. Okay, that feels freaking powerful. That feels really, really good, right? Beautiful. So you find evidence for that. Then you step into that new belief system. You make a decision to move forwards on that today and become that today. Okay. Or, for example, a fear. Let's say a fear is the fear of change. So we have this limiting belief of like, I'm not good enough. What would I have to believe to be true? Oh, that I'm just not good enough, that I can't change, that changes and never works out for me. Okay. I know that to be true, but I'm still feeling some resistance behind moving forwards in this new belief. What am I resisting? Well, what would I have to be scared of to still be, feeling this way about change? That I'm scared of change. What would be so scary about if I accomplish this goal? Well, if I accomplish this goal, what if people don't accept me anymore? What if they treat me differently? Okay. What if they did? What would that mean? Will that mean that I wouldn't be accepted? Okay, what would I have to believe to be true to think that way? Well, I have to believe that I need to be just like everybody else. I need to fit in line. I can't stand out because if I stand out, I might get in trouble. I might get hurt. Is that universally true? No. It was true as a child, maybe, but I guess it's not true anymore. How so? Well, my hair's different. I do this different stuff. My everyone's different. Everyone's different. What happened to me as a child wasn't my fault. Okay, I realize now that wow, it's gone. Boom. You just made a massive, powerful shift. And as soon as you find the limiting belief or the fear that you have that's been playing out these stories and the system and the self-sabotage and all these things in your life, as soon as you find it, there is no reason for it to continue once you realize it's not rooted in truth because it was only there to protect you and keep you safe. But now it's not needed because it realizes that, hey, there's nothing to protect myself from. This isn't true. So I can act and be the way I actually want to be. And then what you'll notice is that you'll be from constricted feeling and you will expand. And that is the best feeling in the world. You get your power back. So you go and you learn, you let go of the limitation, you let go of the limiting belief, you learn the lesson of why you're continue to be in this cycle, and then you keep moving forwards in your life. And I just gave you some examples there. So, and that's how you break the pattern of self-sabotage because if we don't change those things, then the pattern goes back down and it repeats itself over and over and over again. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the training for today. If you like my stuff, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm also on Instagram at Caden Hayward as well. But make sure you like and subscribe to my YouTube for more downloads on personal development, on transforming yourself, on unlocking your highest potential and ending your suffering so you can truly live the life that you desire the most. Now, I appreciate you all so much for being here, and I will see you on the next training.